What happens when a rich widow publicly humiliates a poor village teacher, only to discover that he was the only man who ever showed her genuine kindness? Amara had wealth, power, and a heart locked behind pain. But one rainy night, one humble teacher changed everything. And the truth she uncovered would break her heart forever. Read this as a single-speaker cinematic storytelling narration with James. Keep the pace slightly fast, keep pauses minimal, and maintain a dramatic, immersive, emotionally controlled delivery throughout. Once upon a time, in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Accra, Ghana, there lived a woman many people admired from a distance, but few truly knew. Her name was Amara Mensah. She was elegant, wealthy, and powerful. Her late husband had left behind a successful chain of transport companies, real estate, and farms. And after his death, Amara took control of everything. While others expected her to break, she became even stronger. She worked harder, she spoke less. And little by little, she built a name that carried both respect and fear. When Amara entered a room, people stood up straight. When Amara gave instructions, nobody dared to question her. And when men tried to get close to her, she shut the door before they could take a second step. People said many things about her. Some said grief had changed her. Some said money had made her proud. Some whispered that a woman who had everything no longer needed love. But the truth was much deeper than that. Amara had once loved with all her heart. When her husband was alive, she trusted easily. She believed in partnership. She believed that loyalty was real. But when he died, the people around her changed in ways she never expected. Business partners she once called family tried to cheat her. Relatives came pretending to comfort her while secretly fighting over property. Men who approached her afterward did not hide their interest for long. They did not want Amara the woman. They wanted Amara the widow with wealth. That was the day her heart began to close. And after years of disappointment, she told herself something she never forgot. People only stay where money lives. So Amara stopped looking for sincerity. She trusted contracts more than promises. She trusted silence more than sweet words. And she buried the soft part of herself so deeply that even she almost forgot it was there. Far away from the city, in a modest village called Arumasa, there lived a young man named Kofi Badu. Kofi was not rich. He did not wear expensive clothes. He did not own a car. But in that small village, many people respected him more than men with much greater possessions. Kofi was a teacher. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, he would sweep the dusty floor of the small community school where he taught. The roof leaked when it rained. The wooden desks were old. Some children wrote with pencils so short they could barely hold them. Many of the parents could not afford school fees on time. Some of the pupils came to class hungry. But Kofi still taught them with patience. He taught English. He taught reading. He taught history. And most importantly, he taught them to believe that their lives could become bigger than the boundaries of the village. Knowledge can take you where your legs have never gone, he often told them. The children loved him. He was gentle, disciplined, and sincere. If a pupil had no notebook, Kofi would quietly buy one. If a child was absent for too many days, he would visit the family himself. When the school's chalk finished, he found a way. When the walls cracked, he helped patch them. But Kofi carried his own burdens in silence. The school had been struggling for months. Rain had damaged one classroom. The pupils had no proper books for the next term. And the local support they expected never came. More than once, Kofi used his own salary to keep the school alive. More than once, he skipped meals so the children could have something during break. Still, he complained to nobody. One afternoon, news reached the village that the Mensah Education Trust, owned by the famous Amara Mensah, was offering grants to struggling rural schools across the country. For the first time in many months, hope returned to Kofi's heart. He spent several nights writing a proposal under lantern light. He did not write for himself. He wrote for the children. He listed everything they needed: a repaired roof, books, solar lamps, proper chairs, and clean water storage. He attached photographs of the broken classroom and handwritten essays from his students describing their dreams. One wanted to become a doctor. Another wanted to become an engineer. One little girl wrote that she wanted to become a teacher, like Kofi sir, who never gives up on us. When Kofi finished the application, he looked at the papers for a long time. "This must work," he whispered. The final presentation for shortlisted schools was to be held in Accra. Kofi ironed his best shirt. It was old, but clean. He packed his documents carefully into a brown envelope and boarded the early bus to the city. What he did not know was that his journey would change far more than the future of his school. That same evening, after a long charity dinner and business meeting, Amara decided to drive herself home. The city sky had already grown dark, and heavy rain began to fall. Her driver had asked to take over, but Amara refused. "I can manage," she said coldly. She was tired. Not just tired in body, but tired in spirit. The dinner had been full of polished smiles and empty compliments. Men praised her generosity. Women praised her success. Everyone seemed warm. Yet Amara felt nothing but distance. As she drove through the rain, thunder rolled across the sky. The road ahead became slippery and half hidden by water. Then, without warning, one tire burst. The car swerved sharply. Amara gripped the wheel. The vehicle slid toward the side of the road before finally stopping near a muddy stretch not far from the highway. Her breath became heavy. For a moment, she just sat there, holding the steering wheel tightly. Rain beat against the windshield. She reached for her phone, but the battery was dead. "Wonderful," she said bitterly. When she stepped out of the car, the rain immediately soaked her clothes. She looked around, frustrated and disgusted. There were no bright buildings, no security men, no polished roads. Only darkness, mud, and the sound of frogs somewhere in the distance. Then she saw a weak lantern light moving through the rain. A man was coming closer, holding an old umbrella. It was Kofi. He had just arrived in the city outskirts that evening and was staying temporarily with a cousin in a nearby settlement before his presentation the next morning. On his way back from buying food, he had seen the car lights and stopped. "Madam, are you all right?" he called. Amara immediately became defensive. "I don't need help," she replied. But the moment she said it, she nearly slipped in the mud. Kofi moved quickly and held her arm just long enough to steady her. She pulled away at once. "I said I'm fine." Kofi nodded calmly. "As you wish, madam, but this rain will get worse. There is a small school building nearby where you can wait. We can check the tire when the storm becomes lighter." Amara looked at him carefully. He did not stare at her with greed. He did not act overly familiar. His voice was respectful but simple. For some reason, that unsettled her more than flattery would have. She glanced at the sky again. The rain was worsening. Reluctantly, she followed him. The building nearby was a small village school branch used by local children during weekends. Inside, the room was bare except for benches, a blackboard, and a wooden table. Kofi lit another lantern and placed it on the desk. "You can sit," he said. Amara remained standing at first. Her expensive dress was wet. Her heels were stained with mud. The whole situation felt unbearable. Kofi removed his outer cloth and placed it on the bench. "You can use this so the wood is not too cold." Amara stared at him. "This is yours." "Yes, madam." "And you are giving it to me?" "It is just cloth," he said simply. "You are shivering." For a second, Amara did not know how to respond. Nobody had spoken to her like that in a long time. No calculation, no performance, just quiet concern. She finally sat down. The storm continued outside. After a while, Kofi opened the food parcel he had bought. "There is only roasted plantain and groundnuts," he said. "You should eat something." Amara almost refused. Then her stomach tightened with hunger. She had barely eaten all day. Kofi noticed, but he said nothing. He placed the food on the table and looked away so she would not feel embarrassed. That small kindness touched something hidden inside her, though she refused to show it. Later, when the rain softened, Kofi went back outside, checked the damaged tire, and with the help of a roadside vulcanizer he knew nearby, managed to get the car moving again. By then, night had gone deep. Amara reached into her handbag and pulled out a thick bundle of cash. "Take this," she said, "for your trouble." Kofi looked at the money, then at her. "No, madam." Amara frowned. "This is not a request." "I know," Kofi replied gently. "But I did not help you for payment." Amara's expression hardened a little. "Everyone wants something." Kofi held her gaze with calm eyes. "Not everyone." Then he stepped back from the car. "If you still wish to thank me, then remember schools like ours when you make your decisions." Amara paused. "Schools like yours?" Kofi lifted the brown envelope he had been protecting from the rain. "I am a teacher. I have a presentation tomorrow." Only then did Amara look properly at the envelope in his hand. Before she could ask more, Kofi greeted her politely and walked away into the night. Amara drove home, but his words followed her. Not everyone. The next morning, the presentation hall at the Mensah Education Trust was filled with school heads, coordinators, and community representatives from different regions. Kofi arrived early. He wore his clean old shirt, polished his shoes as best as he could, and sat quietly with his documents on his lap. When Amara entered the hall with her team, the room became silent. Kofi looked up. Their eyes met. Recognition flashed across both faces. For a moment, neither moved. Then Amara looked away and took her seat at the front. One by one, the applicants presented their needs. When it was Kofi's turn, he stood and walked forward with steady steps. He placed photographs, reports, and student letters on the table. "My name is Kofi Badu," he began. "I teach at Adumasa Community School. I am here on behalf of children who are willing to learn, but who are slowly being abandoned by the conditions around them." His voice was calm and sincere. He spoke of the leaking roof. He spoke of students reading by lantern smoke. He spoke of girls missing school during heavy rains because the damaged classroom had become unsafe. As he spoke, something uncomfortable grew in Amara's chest. She remembered the rain, the schoolroom, the food he had shared. the way he had asked for nothing. But instead of softening, fear rose inside her. What if he had recognized her from the beginning? What if the whole encounter had been arranged? What if this was just another clever way to reach her heart and her money? The old wound inside her opened again. By the time Kofi finished, the panel members looked deeply moved. Then Amara spoke. Her voice was cold. "So this is your plan?" The room became still. Kofi blinked. "Madam? You help me on the road at night, then appear before me in the morning asking for money." The air changed at once. Kofi's face fell. "Madam, that is not—" Amara cut him off. "I have seen many forms of manipulation before. Some people use tears, some use praise. You used kindness." A shocked silence filled the hall. Kofi stood motionless. "I did not know who you were when I helped you," he said quietly. Amara leaned back in her chair. "Convenient answer." One of the trustees shifted uncomfortably, but Amara continued. "If your proposal is genuine, it will be reviewed like every other one. But do not think roadside drama gives you special access." The humiliation was complete. Kofi's fingers tightened around his papers. For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then, in a calm voice that carried more pain than anger, he replied, "I did not help you to stand here today, madam. I helped you because you needed help." He gathered his documents slowly. "The children I came for deserve better than this moment." Then he turned and walked away. No shouting, no insults, no begging. Just dignity. And somehow, that made Amara feel worse. The meeting continued, but her heart was no longer steady. Later that afternoon, as Amara prepared to leave her office, her assistant entered quietly with a file. "Madam, this was left behind by the teacher from Adumasa." Amara took it without interest at first. Then she opened it. Inside were more than grant papers. There were medical receipts, utility records, handwritten notes, a letter from a local chief confirming that Kofi had been teaching without full pay for 8 months, a sales agreement showing he had sold the only piece of land his late father left him to buy temporary roofing sheets and textbooks for the pupils. And on top of everything was a folded page written in a child's handwriting. "Dear Madam Mensah, please help our teacher. He tells us not to give up. He is the reason I still believe I can become a nurse." Amara sat down slowly. For the first time that day, her throat tightened. "Find out more about this school," she said quietly. The next morning, without informing anyone except her driver, Amara traveled to Adumasa herself. She did not go with cameras. She did not go with press. She did not go as a celebrated philanthropist. She went as a woman disturbed by something she could no longer ignore. When she arrived, the sight before her broke the hard shell she had carried for years. Children were learning under a mango tree because one classroom had become unsafe. The roof of the remaining room was patched with plastic and rusted metal. 2 girls shared one textbook. A small boy sat on a stone, carefully writing with a pencil no longer than his finger. And there was Kofi, standing before them, teaching, as if nothing had happened. As if rejection had not crushed his hope. As if humiliation had not touched his pride. Amara stayed at a distance and listened. "Your condition is not your conclusion," Kofi told the children. "One day, you will remember these struggles and see how strong they made you." Not once did he mention her. Not once did he insult her. Not once did he turn the children against her. An elderly woman standing nearby recognized Amara from the newspapers and whispered, You are the rich widow from Accra. Amara nodded faintly. The woman pointed toward Kofi. That young man is a rare soul. He could have left this village long ago. He had chances, but he stayed because of these children. Even when his mother died, he returned to class after the burial because the pupils were preparing for exams. Amara felt something painful twist inside her. The truth settled heavily on her heart. She had humiliated a good man. Not because of what he had done, but because of what others had once done to her. And for the first time in many years, Amara felt ashamed of the person pain had turned her into. That evening, she waited until the children had gone home. Kofi was locking the classroom when he saw her. He froze. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. Then Amara stepped closer. I came to apologize. Kofi's face remained still. Amara looked around at the broken school, then back at him. I was wrong. Completely wrong. I judged you through the wounds of my past, and I wounded you for no reason. Kofi said nothing. Amara lowered her voice. I saw the school. I saw the records. I know now what you have sacrificed. I should never have spoken to you that way. Silence. Then Kofi looked at her carefully. Why did you come yourself? Amara answered honestly. Because sending money would not fix what I damaged. Those words touched him. He looked away for a moment, then back at her. What happened in Accra hurt, he said quietly. Not because of pride, but because I came for children who have nobody else. Amara nodded, her eyes softening. I know. Then she did something very few people had ever seen from her. She said, with real humility, Please forgive me. Kofi studied her face. The powerful woman from Accra was still there, but now she looked different. Less guarded, less distant, more human. Finally, he exhaled slowly. I forgive you. Relief washed over her. But something deeper began too. Over the following weeks, Amara kept her word. The grant was approved, not as a favor, not in secret, but through the full official process. Within a short time, builders arrived in Adumasa. The broken classroom was repaired. New desks were delivered. Solar lights were installed. The children received books, uniforms, and supplies. A water tank was constructed beside the school. But Amara did more than sign papers. She returned often. At first, the villagers watched her with caution, then with curiosity, then, slowly, with warmth. The children began greeting her loudly whenever her car approached. Auntie Amara! For the first time in years, Amara laughed freely. She walked through dusty paths in simple clothes. She sat with the women under shade trees. She listened. She no longer came only to inspect progress. She came because part of her spirit felt quieter there, and every visit brought her closer to Kofi. Their conversations grew naturally. Sometimes they discussed education, sometimes leadership, sometimes life. Kofi challenged her in ways nobody else did. Not rudely, not arrogantly, but honestly. He did not flatter her. He did not fear her money. And he did not treat her like a prize to be won. One evening, after the children had gone, they sat outside the new classroom while the sky turned orange. You still work too much, Kofi said with a faint smile. Amara looked at him. And how would you know that? Because every time you arrive here, you answer business calls before greeting anyone. For a second, Amara was offended. Then she laughed. a real laugh. "You are very bold for a village teacher." Kofi smiled. "And you are softer than you pretend to be." Those words stayed with her long after she returned to Accra. In the city, people noticed something changing in Amara. She was still firm, still sharp, still disciplined, but the cold edge had softened. She listened more. She smiled sometimes. Even her staff whispered about it. "Madam is different these days," one said. "Yes," another replied, as if peace finally found her. But peace did not come without fear. Because the closer Amara grew to Kofi, the more she realized something dangerous was happening. Her heart was opening again, and that frightened her. One night, alone in her large, quiet house, she stood by the window and admitted the truth to herself. "I have fallen in love." The words felt both beautiful and terrifying. She was no longer the woman who believed sincerity was impossible, but she was still a woman afraid of losing what she had just found. At the same time, Kofi was fighting his own emotions. He admired Amara deeply. Not for her houses, not for her wealth, not even for the help she gave the school. He admired the courage it took for her to face her mistake and change. He had seen powerful people before, but rarely had he seen one humble enough to apologize. Still, he kept his feelings hidden. She deserves someone from her world, he told himself. I am only a teacher from a village. Weeks later, at the school reopening ceremony, the whole village gathered to celebrate. Children sang, drums played, women danced. The chief praised the new partnership that had transformed the school. When it was time for speeches, Amara stood before the crowd and looked toward Kofi. Her voice was steady, but emotional. "This school has taught me something I did not expect to learn," she said. "That strength is not only in success. Sometimes strength is in patience, in service, in choosing to stay good when life has not been good to you." Then she turned fully toward Kofi. "And I learned that from someone I once misunderstood." The villagers clapped. Kofi lowered his eyes slightly, humbled. Later that night, after the celebration ended, Amara asked him to walk with her. They moved slowly along the quiet road beside the school. Lanterns glowed in the distance. For a while, neither spoke. Then Amara stopped walking. "Kofi," he turned. "There is something I need to say before fear makes me silent again." His heart began to beat faster. Amara took a breath. "When I met you, I was a woman hiding behind old pain. I thought kindness was a trick. I thought love was dangerous. I thought anyone who came close wanted something from me." Her eyes held his. "But you changed that. Not with pressure, not with sweet talk. Just by being real." Kofi stood still, listening. Amara's voice softened. "I do not know what tomorrow holds, but I know what I feel. And I do not want to live behind walls anymore. I care for you, Kofi, more than I planned to, more than I expected to." The night went quiet. Kofi's chest rose slowly. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he stepped closer. "I have cared for you for a long time," he said. "But I kept silent because I did not want your feelings to be influenced by gratitude." Amara shook her head gently. "This is not gratitude." "I know," he replied. Now I know. There was peace in his voice, not urgency, not excitement, just truth. I love the woman you are becoming, he said. And I love the woman you were brave enough to reveal. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Not tears of pain, tears of release. Years of fear, suspicion, and loneliness seemed to loosen their grip all at once. Slowly, Kofi reached for her hand. Amara did not pull away. Under the soft African night sky, beside the school that had brought their lives together, they stood in silence, holding each other's hands with the kind of sincerity that cannot be bought. And in that quiet moment, Amara finally understood something wealth had never taught her. A pure heart is worth more than every fortune in the world. Months later, their story became known not as a tale of a rich widow and a poor teacher, but as the story of two wounded hearts that found healing through truth, humility, and kindness. Amara continued to support schools, but now with more compassion than pride. Kofi remained a teacher, later becoming director of a growing education foundation they built together. And wherever they went, they carried one lesson with them. Never punish a sincere person for the sins of those who hurt you in the past. Because sometimes, the very person you almost push away is the one sent to restore your heart. Dear friends, this story reminds us that not every hand stretched toward us comes with selfish intention. Some people are truly kind. Some people are truly honest. And sometimes, life sends us real love in simple clothes, so we can learn to value the heart before the appearance. Now, I would love to hear from you. Do you think Amara was right to open her heart again? And if you were Kofi, would you have forgiven her after that public humiliation? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, do not forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that teach, heal, and inspire. Thank you so much for watching.